The Sinai and Palestine campaign of the Middle Eastern theatre of World War I was fought between the British Empire and the Ottoman Empire, supported by the German Empire. It started with an Ottoman attempt at raiding the Suez Canal in 1915, and ended with the Armistice of Mudros in 1918, leading to the cession of Ottoman Syria and Palestine. Fighting began in January 1915, when a German-led Ottoman force invaded the Sinai Peninsula, then part of the British Protectorate of Egypt, to unsuccessfully raid the Suez Canal. After the Gallipoli campaign, veterans from each side formed the Egyptian Expeditionary Force and the Fourth Army in Palestine, to fight for the Sinai Peninsula in 1916. During this campaign, the Anzac Mounted Division and the 52nd Division succeeded in pushing German-led Ottoman army units out of the area, beginning with the Battle of Romani in pursuit in August, the Battle of Magdaba in December, and in January 1917 the newly formed Desert Column completed the recapture of the Sinai at the Battle of Rafah. These three victories, resulting in the recapture of substantial Egyptian territory, were followed in March and April by two EEF defeats on Ottoman Empire territory, at the First and Second Battles of Gaza in southern Palestine. After a period of stalemate in southern Palestine from April to October 1917, General Edmund Allenby captured Beersheba, defended by the Third Corps. Having weakened the Ottoman defences, which had stretched almost continually from Gaza to Beersheba, they were finally captured by the 8th of November. After the Battle of Tel el-Kuwailf, the Battle of Harera and Sharia, and the Third Battle of Gaza, when the pursuit began. During the subsequent operations, about 50 miles of formerly Ottoman territory was captured as a result of the EEF victories at the Battle of Moga Ridge, fought between 10 and 14 November, and the Battle of Jerusalem, fought between the 17th of November and the 30th of December. Serious losses on the Western Front in March 1918 during Erich Ludendorff's German Spring Offensive forced the British Empire to send reinforcements from the EEF. During this time, two unsuccessful attacks were made to capture Amman and to capture Est Salt in March and April 1918, before Allenby's force resumed the offensive during the maneuver warfare of the Battle of Megiddo. The successful infantry battles at Tulkarm and Tabzor created gaps in the Ottoman front line, allowing the pursuing Desert Mounted Corps to encircle the infantry fighting in the Judean hills and fight the Battle of Nazareth and Battle of Samak, capturing Afula, Basin, Jenin and Tiberias. In the process, the EEF destroyed three Ottoman armies during the Battle of Sharon, the Battle of Nablus and the Third Transjordan attack, capturing thousands of prisoners and large quantities of equipment. Damascus and Aleppo were captured during the subsequent pursuit, before the Ottoman Empire agreed to the Armistice of Mudros on 30 October 1918, ending the Sinai and Palestine campaign. The British Mandate of Palestine, and the French Mandate for Syria and Lebanon were created to administer the captured territories. The campaign was generally not well known or understood during the war. The English people thought of it as a minor operation, a waste of precious resources which would be better spent on the Western Front, while the peoples of India were more interested in the Mesopotamian campaign and the occupation of Baghdad. Australia did not have a war correspondent in the area until Captain Frank Hurley, the first Australian official photographer, arrived in August 1917 after visiting the Western Front. Henry Gullett, the first official war correspondent, arrived in November 1917. The long-lasting effect of this campaign was the partitioning of the Ottoman Empire, when France won the mandate for Syria and Lebanon, while the British Empire won the mandates for Mesopotamia and Palestine. The Republic of Turkey came into existence in 1923 after the Turkish War of Independence ended the Ottoman Empire. The European mandates ended with the formation of the Kingdom of Iraq in 1932, the Lebanese Republic in 1943, the State of Israel in 1948. the Hashemite Kingdom of Transjordan in 1946, and the Syrian Arab Republic in 1946. Background: by 1914 Egypt had been part of the Ottoman Empire for 400 years, remaining under nominal Ottoman suzerainty despite being occupied by the British in 1882, following the Anglo-Egyptian War, eventually becoming a British protectorate. The Suez Canal was of vital strategic importance to the British, reducing the sailing time from India, New Zealand and Australia to Europe. As a result, Egypt became a major base during the war, particularly during the Gallipoli campaign. To Germany and the Ottoman Empire, the canal was the closest and weakest link in British communications. Defense of the canal posed a number of problems, with its sheer size alone making it hard to control. There was no road from Cairo, while only one railway track crossed the 30 miles of desert from Cairo to Ismailia on the canal before branching north to Port Said and south to Suez. Control of the central area around Ismailia was of great strategic importance because these three canal towns relied on fresh water from the Nile via the Sweetwater Canal to the main gates and sluices near there. At the beginning of hostilities between Britain and the Ottoman Empire in November 1914, the 30,000-strong British Defence Force evacuated the Sinai Peninsula. Instead, they concentrated their defences on the western side of the canal. The British force comprised the 10th and 11th Indian Divisions, the Imperial Service Cavalry Brigade, a Bikana Camel Corps, 3 batteries of Indian Mountain Artillery and 1 Egyptian artillery battery. These were supported by the guns of Allied ships in the canal. Opposing them were around 25,000 men, including the 25th Division. The Ottoman Empire demonstrated its interest in being reinstated in Egypt in 1915 when Ottoman forces attacked British forces in Egypt. The Germans also helped to foment unrest among the Senussi in what is now Libya, when they attacked western Egypt and threatened the Sudan during the Senussi campaign. Egypt's contribution to the war effort: Egypt was neither an independent ally nor a member of the British Empire, and as such held a unique position amongst the belligerents. The recently appointed High Commissioner Sir Reginald Wingate in Murray agreed that Egypt's contributions would be restricted to the use of the country's railway and Egyptian personnel. However, Maxwell had proclaimed on 6 November 1914 that Egypt would not be required to aid Britain's war effort. Martial law allowed the British administration to control foreign European residents, monitor foreign agents and intern dangerous persons who were the subjects of hostile nations. The powers were also used to police prostitution and the sale of alcohol. The capitulations, however, provided some protection to the Europeans who controlled both these industries. In the autumn of 1917, GHQ was transferred from Cairo to the front, leaving garrison battalions. This move took the commander-in-chief of the EEF, who was responsible for martial law, out of touch with the civil authorities, and unrest in Egypt became serious during the winter of 1917-18. By 1917, 15,000 Egyptian volunteers were serving in the Egyptian army, deployed mainly in the Sudan with 3 battalions in the EEF, along with 98,000 laborers, 23,000 of whom were serving overseas. The number of Egyptian enlistments could not be increased. His conscription could threaten the production of much-needed food and cotton and the stability of Egypt. Also by this time, much of the railway lines in Egypt that were not crucial to the production of cotton, sugar, cereals and forages, had already been lifted and used on the military railway, except the Khedivial Railway from Alexandria to Dabar, which was available for emergencies. The Egyptian Labour Corps and the Egyptian Camel Transport Corps had performed invaluable service during the Sinai campaign and would perform even greater service and hardships during the coming Palestine campaign. As the war dragged on and the fighting moved beyond the Egyptian border, many Egyptians felt the war no longer concerned them. At the same time, the increasing need for Egyptian personnel turned volunteers into forced labor, although highly paid, in a system controlled by the local mudirs.